So we are here tonight with Vintersea's guitarist Riley Nix. How you going, man? Thanks for chatting with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
No worries. How's the virus going where you are, man? Everyone locked down?
Yeah, everyone's pretty much separated by at least a few miles, but we're still staying busy, talking every day, and trying to keep the ball rolling.
That's it. It's good to hear. We'll start off with Illuminated. Sick release. It came out late 2019. Huge sound, well-structured songs. Congrats on the album, man.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Is there a theme throughout the album, vocally, like lyrically? Is there something you try to talk about on this album?
Yeah, there is, and this is something that Avian, our vocalist, likes to talk about a lot. In fact, there's a video that she did. She went live on our Facebook page and did a half-hour long video where she delves real deep into all the themes. But just real briefly, basic idea is it's kind of a post-apocalypse. So everyone talks about the apocalypse and what comes next, but we kind of went a step further with it, and we were just thinking, as humanity kind of starts to restructure, what would that look like? And so the album kind of starts in a place where people are very much controlled by kind of a computerized society, thinking that that's going to be better. It's kind of a Matrix sort of a vibe. Yeah. But they pretty quickly break out of that and rebel against the machine and kind of start to come back to their own personality and their own culture. And then throughout the album, that kind of grows from there. So there's a little bit of the feeling of what comes next. Is it really better? Does humanity have any hope? Yeah. Or are we better to just be kind of controlled from the beginning? So there's a lot of lyrical themes like that. If you wanted to know more, I'd suggest checking out that Facebook video with Avian.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds good. A lot of different textures on the album too. Lots of different instruments. Crack of Light. Love that track. A good example of lots of different textures. You've got chanting, saxophones, acoustic guitars. It's still got that crazy heavy element through it though. Is that something you guys want to get into more and explore on future releases?
Yeah, we love coming up with all kinds of different and unique instruments and everything. I mean, we've been listening to bands like Isan and Rivers of Nile do things with saxophone for forever, but we really, especially the drummer and I, Jeremy, we've been trying to put saxophone on a metal song for like 15 years. So it
works so well.
Definitely something that we've really liked for a long time. Classical instrumentation, jazz instrumentation, and different members of the band have different things that really speak to them. And so we're definitely open to the idea of stringed instruments, brass instruments, whatever best suits the song, whatever voicings the song needs. Yeah, that's what we're going to be looking at. Yeah.
Beautiful. That's awesome. Sounds like everybody's got different interests that come together to create that sound, and that's always, I feel, what makes a good band, having so many different genres that people get into and putting those thoughts together, and often quite hard to communicate too within bands, but seems like you've done that quite well. Befallen, great clip. You've been putting out some great clips. That's been out like a month on YouTube, a bit over probably now, over 160k views. Where was that filmed, and who did that for you?
Yeah, so we're really lucky. Our bass player, Carl Winnery, he does videos like as a side business. Right. So it's a great fit for us. It's actually how we met him, was doing a music video from our first album. And so we started working on what we were going to do for each song on the album, whether we were going to do a video or some kind of a playthrough video. And Befallen was one of the ones that we were excited about pretty early on. So we had a plan to go to the Satsop nuclear facility, which is just up the road, about an hour from us.
Right.
Old abandoned nuclear facility. They started to build it and realized they didn't want to do nuclear power in Washington State, and just abandoned it about 75% of the way through. So we went up there, filmed in some really neat cooling towers and some pretty unique areas. It's the response to it's been great. It's been a lot of fun. We're actually closing in on like 250,000 views now, so it's pretty awesome. Exciting.
Yeah. Can't imagine the reverb in those giant solos. It would have been crazy.
We couldn't even have a conversation. Jeremy loaded his drums up there and hit his snare, and it was 45 seconds of reverb. So it was pretty intense.
That's crazy. Any more clips planned for Illuminated, or waiting until the next release for stuff, or doing playthroughs or anything now that you guys are isolated and that?
Yeah, so we've done videos for 3 songs plus a guitar playthrough video that we did so far. There's only
Yeah,
6 songs on the album, so we're making pretty good progress. We'll do a video for each song.
yeah.
When we have
Why
Carl
not?
in the band, why wouldn't we? So we have plans working toward the next one, and it's going to be a good one. We think it'll probably be our best so far, at least from a cinematic perspective. So it'll be a lot
Awesome.
of fun.
Yeah, lovely. And your sound is inspired by the majesty of the Pacific Northwest. Um, you guys living there, how does that inspire your music? Let us know a bit about that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't think you can live here without being somewhat inspired by, the look of the place. I mean, you walk out your front door, I have my whole life, and, we have like 3 of the tallest mountains in the world, just, right on the horizon. And
Yeah,
anytime I've ever been anywhere where it's flat, I feel very uncomfortable because I've always been surrounded by mountains, dark forests and all that kind of stuff. So,
yeah,
yeah, it has a huge influence on our sound. Our name Vintersea, it pretty much comes straight from the feeling of being on the Pacific Ocean in the middle of the winter when it's churning and dark and all
yeah.
that. So it definitely has a big influence on us, and I think a lot of bands in this area.
Yep. So what's the local scene like there? You've played around a fair bit in your hometown, or is it tricky to get gigs there? And are they in the same sort of genre? What's going on around there?
Yeah, yeah, Portland's a cool town. It gets, I think, a lot of kind of press across the internet and across TV and everything as being really quirky and weird.
Yep.
And, it is in some ways, but it's also really just a cool town. We love our promoters here. The promoters have always treated us really well. We've had pretty good experiences playing with local bands. It's a very supportive scene. So, yeah, we love our local scene. I've noticed that a lot of the bands that come out of this area, I think, that are inspired by, the nature and all that, kind of go that solo black metal route.
Right. Yeah.
And so there's a lot of bands that kind of do that black metal thing, and that's really cool. And that might actually be a little bit closer to what we're doing in terms of vibe, kind of like really going for that natural, P&W, Cascade Mountain kind of a feel.
Yeah.
But a lot of those bands don't really play out very much. So we end up playing with a lot of the kind of quirkier bands or like the stoner rock bands and, all the doom metal bands that are
Right.
big in Portland. And we love those guys. It might not be exactly our sound, but it makes for a really fun bill.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Um, Illuminated has a really full sound, real modern sounding guitars and stuff. More so, I believe, than the Gravity of Fall. As a guitarist, how'd you get that sound that you got? That almost it's a black metal sound, but the tones more polished and modern sounding. What kind of rig did you use in the studio? And any tricks that you used there in miking things up? Did you have tunnels going with things blaring?
Yeah, it was pretty straightforward, really. We on the first album, on the Gravity of Fall, we reamped almost everything. We recorded it all into a Fractal X effects and then reamped it through real amps.
Yep.
Whereas on Illuminated, we recorded everything through Kempers. We made the switch from Fractal to Kemper profiling amps, and then we did some reamping, but we ended up just doing more modeling. So we found the amps that we wanted. We modeled those amps. A lot of 6505.
Yeah.
Both the PV and the EVH, Engel, Savage, and Powerball, and then kind of mixing that with some of the Mesa, like Mark IV, Mark V type of the sound too. And we ran everything into Mesa cabs. We love our Mesa 2x12s for anything that we captured actual live room sound. We were pretty lucky. There's a guitar builder in Pennsylvania, the state of Pennsylvania, and called Balaguer Guitars. Joe Balaguer is the luthier, and we met with him maybe a couple years ago and signed an endorsement deal with them. And so he made some really nice custom. He calls them the archetype. They're 7-string archetype guitars. He does his own pickups. I mean, that's really the basis of our tone right there. We love those guitars. And yeah, so I think as far as kind of getting that black metal sound, but mixing it with modern sound, that is a big part of what we're going for on guitar.
Yeah.
And I think it comes a little bit from the 7-string, the extended range that kind of gets you into a more modern sound, using the Kempers, but then using real classic metal amps. I think it gives us a nice combo. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to hear a lot of bands now, black metal bands, etc., coming out and actually going that next step and recording things a bit more modern. Do you know what I mean? There's so many bands that continued with that sound and went, no, we're sticking to, how it always sounded, that dirty, fuzzy pedal, and not cleaning it up so you can hear what they're actually doing and be amazed by that, because some of the guitar work and shit is just blows you away when you can hear it properly as opposed to just fuzz.
Yeah, I think the first person who we really heard do that was Isan. The guy practically invented black metal back in the 90s with Emperor, and then decided I want people to actually hear what I'm playing. And so, it doesn't have to be recorded on a tape recorder in the middle of the woods.
That's right.
You can actually go into the studio and do it the right way and still make it sound raw and heavy and, really and dark, but actually hear what people are playing. So, yeah, we're all about it.
Yeah, beautiful. The first album was recorded with Justin Phelps, who did the Mars Volta, and Joe Satriani, and Gabe Johnston, was it? Recorded the new album?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's right. I did learn something. What differences did you find working with him as opposed to Justin?
Yeah, so they were different, but both really productive relationships. When we worked with Justin, he is great at recording vocals. Probably one of the better people I've ever met for recording vocals, which makes sense with the people he's worked with, And so on that first album, we spent a ton of time on vocal harmonies, did a lot of the vocal harmonies in the studio, and he even helped us come up with some of them.
Yeah.
Whereas with Illuminated, the vocal harmonies were pretty well figured out before we went in. Part of that is Avian growing as a vocalist as well. But I would say that Justin was much more kind of the old school of let's get full takes every time, let's try to kind of capture that magic in the room. Whereas Gabe was willing to go a little bit, kind of dial in and do a little bit more surgery here and there.
Yeah.
And so I would say that with Illuminated, we got kind of a more modern sound because of that. And I think really both were great for the record and kind of what we were going for. The Gravity of Fall, we were still kind of trying to figure out what our sound was.
Yeah.
And so working with Justin, where he kind of let us explore in this great big room that they record in. It's called the Hollowed Halls. It's like it's an old library, I think. 40 feet tall. Whereas with Gabe, it was a lot more insular. We were in a little studio, dead room, and everything, but it really let us focus in on layering with Illuminated, which I think was great. So good. Both great engineers. We like them both a lot.
Yeah, it's always a learning curve, isn't it? Every time you go into a studio with someone good, just you come out a better musician, I believe.
I think so too. Yeah.
Prior to Vintersea, you and some of the other guys put out some tracks under the name of Stereon. It's up on Bandcamp. What was the idea of changing name and different members there? Was that just the bringing on of the new vocalist, or?
So Avian was our vocalist with Asterion, and so we changed our bass player, and we lost a keyboard player when we went from Asterion to Vintersea. And really, it's more coincidental, I would say. Asterion really was just the Mark I of Vintersea. We got together, we started writing some songs. We were really excited about the sound. We were listening to bands like The Contortionist and Between the Buried and Me pretty exclusively. And so we kind of were going for this real spacey, kind of a vibe, the universe, which, is going to happen when you're listening to those bands.
Yeah.
And that's where Stereon came from. It pretty much means starry sky in Greek. And so that's the vibe we were going for. And we kind of realized after writing more than just 3 songs that was being done to death, and that it wasn't really representative of our sound and the direction we were going.
No.
So, we kind of decided to do our own thing instead of just trying to copy a blueprint. Came up with a new name, which, like I mentioned, if you live on the Oregon coast in the middle of winter, you know what Vintersea means.
It's, and it suits what your sound is now. Absolutely.
And that's, I think, what our sound is now, yeah. So really it was just an evolution, figuring out what our actual sound was instead of just trying to go with what was popular.
Yeah.
And the new name was necessary for that transition.
Yeah, absolutely. Who are your inspirations, man, as a guitarist growing up?
Yeah, so going back to when I was in high school and first picked up a guitar, it was like Eric Clapton and Neil Young and all those classic guys. I think there's still a lot of blues in my playing these days.
Yeah.
But pretty quickly I found Devin Townsend, who had a huge impact on me in terms of thinking about how music can be put together, structured, arranged. And so his guitar playing, I don't play in open C or anything like that, which is one of his things. But just that big open sound. I'm really the rhythm guitarist in the band. Jorma kind of handles all the shreds. So I'm always looking to kind of fill out space, and he was a huge inspiration there. I also love his son, like I mentioned. Clear but dark guitar playing. That's a big one for me. And then some of the more recent influences would be bands like Neobla Viscaris and Rivers of Nile, Caligula's Horse, some bands like that really do modern production, but in a really raw way. Big epic songs, progressive song structures. That's I'm one of those guitarists who kind of uses a guitar, I think, more as a compositional tool than I do, really like spend a ton of time on my chops.
Yeah.
I'm more of a songwriter, so that's kind of how I approach the instrument.
Yeah, it works well having that and a shredder on the same team.
Jorma's way better than I could ever hope to be, so I let him handle that.
It takes two, man. So what's next for you guys, man? Are we waiting for the virus days and then start playing some shows again, or?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. We had some pretty big plans in the works. We're still in the works. We haven't given up on them yet, but we're going to have to see how things go the next month or so. If it weren't for all the craziness in the world right now, right about now, we would probably be announcing a really exciting tour for the summer. As of right now, that's a little bit on hold as we wait to see what's going on. But yeah, we have a lot of energy, a lot of plans, and we're just ready to unleash it. It's all getting pent up right now, so
so it's going to be a great first show back.
As long as we get outside,
yeah, awesome, man. Thanks heaps for talking to me. And yeah, good luck with the future of Vintersea. And we're going to pass it on to your single, Befallen. And yeah, everyone get onto Vintersea's Facebook page and socials and all that, and follow them and like them and do what you can to help propel them to where they need to be. And thank you again, man.
All right, thanks for having me, man.
Cheers, dude.
This is Riley from Vintersea, and you're listening to SPiT.